Mr. Secretary, I don't hate anybody. I look for grace wherever I can find it. And I certainly don't hate you. My chairman talked about the woolly mammoths in the room, and I'm glad he brought that up. The chairman's immigration bill was negotiated by two members of my party, Senator Langford and Senator McConnell, and I don't speak for either one. They're both good men. The chairman said that the Republicans who negotiated his bill trusted you and wanted you there. And I'm not doubting his word. It gives me no joy to say this, but most Republicans don't trust you. And a vast majority of the American people don't trust you. That's why you've been impeached. Now, my Democratic colleagues are going to try to sweep your impeachment under the rug and violate 200 years of Senate precedent in doing it. I don't think that they will be able to sweep the issue, maybe your impeachment, but not the issue, under a rug as big as the United States of America. Again, it gives me no joy in saying this. I think well more than a majority of the American people think that as a result of your behavior and President Biden's behavior, our southern border is an open, bleeding wound. I think they believe that our southern border is chaotic. I think a vast majority of the American people believe that a lot of it is political. I think a vast majority of the American people believe that it is chaotic by design, and that all of this is intentional. And I think while a vast majority of the American people who don't trust you believe in legal immigration, they don't believe in illegal immigration. And they think you do. And they think President Biden does. And they think that's why the border is open. And they think that your attitude and President Biden's attitude is that while they may be poorer under President Biden, that they're stupid enough to believe you and the president when you say that it's not your problem. I think that needed to be said. Isn't it a fact, Mr. Secretary, that the number of illegal immigrants that you and the president allow into our country counts for congressional district reapportionment?
Senator, I'm not sure I understand your question, but I can surely share with you that I disagree with its phrasing.
Isn't it true, Mr. Secretary, that the number of illegal immigrants that you and President Biden have allowed into our country counts for allocating electoral votes?
Same answer.
Okay. You don't know?
I don't understand your question.
Never crossed your mind?
The notion, Senator, that we intend to allow illegal immigration is nothing short of preposterous.
So you do understand my question?
And if I may, it is disrespectful to the extraordinarily hard work that we perform, and far more importantly, that the personnel in the Department of Homeland Security and across this administration perform to stem illegal immigration, build lawful, safe, and orderly pathways, and invest in an working system, and we only wish that bipartisan legislation, about which I have not heard a critical term,
Mr. President, Mr.
would have
Secretary, you're
passed.
using up my time. You do this every single time. You do this every single time. And it's a fact, and you know it, and I know it, that the more people you allow into our country illegally, the more people are counted for reapportionment. And the more people that you allow into our country illegally, the more people are counted for allocating electoral votes. Now, maybe that's a coincidence, but that's a fact. And you know that. And you've done nothing for 4 years. Nada. Zero.
Absolutely false.
Zilch. And in fact, the only people I know in this country who are better off today than they were 4 years ago are illegal immigrants. And that's as a result of your policy. I don't hate you for it. I don't hate anyone, but that's why you've been impeached. And my colleagues may try to cover it up. They're going to try to cover it up. But they can't cover up the facts. I've gone over my time. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Peters. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Mayorkas, it's wonderful to see you here today, and I'm going to see you again next week when you come before my committee, the Homeland and Governmental Affairs Committee, and it's good to have an opportunity to ask your questions. I've always appreciated your candor, your professionalism, and your dedication to the mission. So thank you for the work that you do each and every day. In this year's appropriations bill, I was able to secure initial funding with the help of my colleagues here, including great help from Chair Murphy, for the Northern Border Coordination Center. This center is going to play a critical role in coordinating our efforts to better secure our nation's northern border. So my question for you, sir, is how does the department plan to use this funding to address the threats that exist on our northern border?
Chairman Peters, we're very grateful for the funding and for the concept of the Coordination Center, because what it does is it allows us to take a step back and take a look at the northern border writ large and decide where we need to allocate our resources, how we need to allocate it, and make sure that we're being as strategic as well as tactical as possible. I have asked to meet with our CBP team to get the Coordination Center moving, and I've already spoken with the team about how we can use it to recalibrate staffing, because I know you and other senators actually on this committee have expressed concerns with respect to staffing of the northern border.
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely have to make sure that we have the people there and the coordination, so I appreciate your efforts in setting up that center as quickly as possible. Mr. Secretary, I was pleased to see the notice of proposed rulemaking published by CISA, as was required by my Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act. This legislation, as you know very well, and the implementing rule will ensure cyber incidents affecting critical infrastructure are reported to CISA so that they can help companies prevent similar attacks. However, FY24 appropriations for this program were set at $24 million below the requested level. So my question for you, sir, is how will this funding shortfall impact the department's ability to implement this critical program, and are there other resources necessary in order to execute this rule as was intended by Congress?
Chairman Peters, this is a transformative piece of legislation that is really going to, when implemented, enhance the cybersecurity of our country. I just met with cybersecurity professionals from companies all over the country yesterday to talk about the notice of proposed rulemaking that we issued and to solicit their feedback on the CIRCIA implementation. One of the responsibilities that we are going to have as a department is to actually receive the cyber incident reports, to be able to really analyze them and assess them and communicate to the community, the public and the private community, our findings and our best practices. To fund us insufficiently is really going to handicap our ability to realize the full benefits of this transformative legislation. We do need to be properly resourced here. It is a very significant undertaking.
Right. Well, we're going to work to make sure that that happens. I totally concur with you. I know that Senator Murkowski, as well as Chair Murray, shared their concerns about Coast Guard funding, particularly with infrastructure, icebreakers and cutters, et cetera. But as you well know, Coast Guard plays a vital role in the Great Lakes as well. And unfortunately, the Coast Guard is facing personnel shortages that are impacting their activities in the lakes. For example, personnel shortages recently hindered essential operations at 7 small boat stations along the coast in Michigan. So my question for you, Mr. Secretary, does the President's budget include necessary resources to address the Coast Guard's workforce challenges and ensure that it has personnel that are absolutely needed to effectively serve Michigan as well as the entire Great Lakes region?
Chairman Peters, I've got to take a look at the budget and confer with Coast Guard about the implications of the budget for Michigan specifically and the facilities that the Coast Guard staffs there. Forgive me for not knowing today that geographic specificity, but I will circle back with you.
I appreciate that, and we can follow up with you. Finally, I was pleased that Congress provided TSA with sustained funding to ensure that TSA frontline staff receive the pay and benefits equivalent to counterparts throughout the federal government. The Department's FY25 budget request, if granted, would ensure that TSA personnel continue to receive equivalent pay and benefits, and I look forward to working with my colleagues to deliver to TSA the pay and those benefits that they deserve as they keep us safe every single day at airports across our country. My question for you, sir, is as TSA continues to screen record numbers of passengers, how does this pay increase improve TSA's operations, workforce morale and retention, as well as your recruitment efforts?
I have spoken with the Administrator, David Pekoski, on a number of occasions. The pay increase has had a monumental impact, positively, of course, on both recruiting